What's up, Rockstars? Today I want to be talking about the Magic the Gathering heist that happened at Gen Con this year. It finally has gone to felony charges. So we're going to be discussing that, some details that just came out. We're going to be covering everything and get you up to date right now. All right, now going into this, just know, of course, that these are charges. Nobody has been found guilty of them yet, so everything is alleged. But we're going to be discussing kind of what's been brought to the court system, the justice system, and where they're going from there. So we're going to be discussing that, plus some of the tactics that they may have used to maybe even try to steal more. We'll be talking about that. But before we get into it, a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Into the AM. They make great shirts just like this one. I wear these all the time. They fit great, they feel great, and they are at a great price. And a better price because they're on sale right now. And on top of that, 10% discount code for you guys. You can help support the channel, get an awesome shirt by using the link in the description below. But let's go ahead and discuss. So they have a flash sale going on right now for like this day. So feel free to check it out. 40% off basics. Again, plus an additional savings with that code. They have basics for like everything. By basics, I mean just non-graphic ones, right? So they have their regular shirts. They feel great. They have branded and non-branded. They have polos. They have boxer briefs. Those are fantastic. I'll probably grab a pair of these while they're on sale. They have actual button-ups, shorts, you name it, they got it. So feel free to check them out in the link in the description below. Of course, they got the monthly t-shirt club so you can keep within budget and get a cool exclusive shirt on the cheap. And of course, awesome graphic tees. These new vintage tees are fantastic. Highly recommended. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the story. So this is a article on Polygon. I'm going to be summarizing for you and adding and embellishing it with some context and some of my thoughts. So this says Gen Con Magic the Gathering card thieves charged with felony theft. Charges could mean up to 5 years in prison and a hefty fine. Now, the 5 years in prison thing's a little weird. We'll talk about that in a moment. So it says here that they were charged with felony theft, and that's according to the prosecutor's office in Indianapolis, where Gen Con is held. They actually went to New York, the state, and so there's been some cross police organization to get this under wraps, and that's what they've been doing this whole time. So Thomas Dunbar and Andrew Guame, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, they're the ones that have been charged with this. Again, it is alleged until they are found guilty, of course. They face 1 to 6 years. This is 6. The top says 5. It's Polygon. It's whatever. 6 years in prison and up to $10,000 in fines. Now, if we go down here, you can actually see the trace of information that they have. So they have a security footage showing the two men moving the carts from the Indianapolis Convention Center through a hotel and into its parking garage. There, they presumably loaded the boxes into a car. Security footage then shows the men leaving the garage with an empty cart. The affidavit even includes a photo of the car the men left in, a 2023 Nissan Murano, driving in Indiana with the cardboard boxes visible in the trunk of the car. Ultimately, the police were able to connect the rented car to Dunbar. Now, the pair were able to connect to Gen Con because they were both originally registered the badges in their names. However, because they were creating a game that they were supposedly going to show off. But the affidavit says that the names were changed to Scott Fisher and Ashriel Lockhart sometime between August 1st and 5th. So really early on, right beforehand, they changed the names to these fake made-up names. Additionally, the two allegedly attempted to enter the area at Gen Con shared by Asmodee and Atomic Mass Games, which makes Marvel and Star Wars tabletop games, among others. A person contracted to work that booth believed the pair were trying to break in and snapped a photo before they left. On top of that, a New York attorney later contacted police saying that he represented a person who was coerced into buying the pallet of Magic the Gathering cards for $4,000. In total, 115 boxes of Magic the Gathering trading cards and Dungeons & Dragons books were recovered. So, that's kind of all the new information. That's everything that happened. So, they went to Gen Con, they found this pallet, they took the pallet, they left Gen Con. That's what they did. Is what the evidence is showing of what the police are saying that they did. So what's going on with this? Well, first of all, I will say that theft is normally not super premeditated. Often it's just opportunity, right? It's there, and a certain type of person will take advantage of that opportunity, that option to be able to do that. Now, I would say this is that because, I mean, the theft took place in one of the most videotaped and documented places in Indianapolis with tons of people there, right? Which is why they have the footage of everything from them leaving in Gen Con and high quality footage to go into the hotel to even a picture of them driving off where they can see the boxes in the back of the car. That's how detailed this is. So definitely wasn't the smartest place to do this in. That being said, they also changed their names right beforehand and also were acting so suspicious around the Atomic Mass Games and Asmodee booth that somebody actually took a picture of them because they were concerned that they were trying to break in. So they were already kind of scoping it out. They'd already changed their name. So that makes me personally believe that this was actually a little premeditated, though not well thought out. And then once obviously what they had done settled in and all the evidence came out and there were pictures of them online with this palette and stuff, they tried to offload it and sell it on the cheap for $4,000 to somebody who then saw the article and was like, I need to tell my attorney to get in contact with the police because I don't want to get in trouble for this, but I might have your stolen goods. Which is crazy. I imagine the original goal was to sell this slowly over time, either in sealed boxes or open them up and sell the rares. Depends on the box and which one's more valuable. Is it more valuable to probably open them up on average or to sell them sealed? And then you can do that over a series of time and get the money that way without raising too many suspicions. Is probably, I imagine, the goal that was there, but certainly the goal wasn't to sell it for $4,000 to some guy who made bank on that. Like, I mean, good props to him for being like, hey, this is this company's stolen goods. So, very, very good to see that. We were concerned, or at least I know I was, and people I was discussing were concerned with the lack of charges being brought up and stuff like that. But this involved 2 different states, and they were taking their time to get all the information because once they brought charges, they wanted them to stick, wanted them to land, wanted them to be kind of a slam dunk case. So they have all the footage, they have the name change. But of course, name changing on a Gen Con card, you can do that. Name changing for your car rental, not so much. So they got them on that, and then they were able to connect it. So they have, they even have the stolen goods now. So they have all the pieces of the puzzles they need, and now they've actually brought that in. And if you go back to this, you can actually see it's because they want to ensure that criminal consequences were made for this conduct. So they're definitely trying to stick them in. Now, what is the final outcome of this? Well, I was discussing with some of my patrons. Thank you so much for your support, by the way, patrons, and YouTube members, of course. And they were talking about just kind of how this system typically works, especially slam dunk kinks like this, where there's just a theft and it's on camera and all that kind of stuff, right? Typically with the amount of evidence they go into, they don't want to necessarily waste the court's time and they'll go for a plea deal just to speed things along, move on to the next one. Because, nobody was actually hurt. It was all just financial damages and stuff like that. And so what that involves, I don't know. The biggest issue for them, for the accused, if they're found guilty, isn't so much the fine of $10,000. That's not really too big of a deal. But the 5 years or 6 years, depending on which part of the article you believe, in prison with a felony theft charge is. A felony theft, if you get a felony, it very much hurts your job pool or possibilities, right? There's a lot of jobs that you cannot get with a felony because businesses don't owe you nothing. And so they're like, hey, have you ever been a felon? And then they have all these applicants like, oh, all these people are qualified. This guy has a felony. I'm going to go with this other guy, right? I mean, that's just obvious. Misdemeanors you can have out the wazoo, but felonies, those tend to kind of stick with you. And prison time means often you're not going into work. So any work you did have, they're going to let you go as well. So that's also kind of rough. They obviously can't make board games anymore because they're well known and nobody will support them in the industry. So if they take a plea deal, I imagine their biggest thing will be trying to get rid of the felony charge. And I don't think they can do that. Stealing $300,000 of product is a pretty big, obviously a felony theft offense. And they have quite a bit of evidence here. So I'll let you know what it finally ends up being. That can be months down the line as, the court systems and justice system works out whatever it's doing, especially if it does end up going to court. But suffice it to say, their lives are really screwed right now. And, I'm just glad we got the product back because the unsung victim here is the company that got their product stolen from. Because not only did they have the 300,000 stolen, which is a bummer, but that was product brought there to sell at Gen Con, which Gen Con sells so much stuff. It's insane. It's crazy. Everybody's there passionate about games, passionate about the industry and wanting to just celebrate it and play with others and buy stuff and have a lot of fun. And so Like, that's a big loss for the company. They had to fly down there and do all that stuff. I don't know. Maybe they were local, but either way, like, they had their booth set up. That cost money. And then they had all their products stolen. Like, that's a huge bummer to their business. So thankfully, their product was returned and they were able to get that. I don't know, actually, because I imagine right now it's evidence. So I don't know when that'll be released to them. Either way, I hope that they come out okay in all of this. Guys, that's it. That's all I had. Just a quick update on that to show you exactly where it is and kind of my thoughts on where it's headed. And of course, shout out to my sponsor, Into the AM. Show them some love. That shows me some love as well. It helps the channel out and you get a cool shirt out of it as well. Again, link downstairs below, save 10%. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye, guys.